Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Yoga for Everybody session, Skills in Self-Care. My name is Skyla Ramirez, and we are going through about a 1-hour yoga class today. The key thought to remember as we move into yoga, especially for those of us that maybe are new to this practice, the main thing to keep in mind is as long as you are breathing, you're doing yoga. Unlike other practices, you're going to avoid pain, avoid discomfort as much as possible. There are very rare instances, there are very few exceptions where we will encourage you to move through discomfort or pain. So in cases like rheumatoid arthritis, MS, possibly even fibromyalgia, please just be mindful to work within a comfortable range of motion so that we're able to avoid any injuries in your body. So as we get started today, you are welcome to either sit in a chair or to come into a position lying down on your back as we begin with the foundation for our entire practice today, breathing, a proper diaphragmatic breath. If you're seated in a chair, I recommend that you move to the edge of your chair. That way the backs of the lungs can open up for your breath. If you're on the floor, I do recommend that you bend your knees. This can take some pressure off the back and it can take some pressure off of your ribs, which are moving when we breathe. Wherever you are with this, let's go ahead and place one hand on the heart and one hand down low on your belly. With this placement of the hands on our body, as we inhale, let's feel for the breath moving down into the belly. Breathing in, we feel the stomach pushing out into the hand. And now bring the breath all the way up to your heart and feel the heart lifting up into your other hand. As we exhale, we relax the heart and then we relax the belly. Inhaling in through the nose as much as possible, breathing into the belly, up to the heart, lifting the chest. And then exhale, relax your chest and relax the belly. You might want to close your eyes as we continue to work with this belly breath or proper diaphragmatic breathing, really feeling for those places that might be resisting the breath, noticing what parts of the body are most open to receive the breath, down into the belly, maybe to your low back, maybe even out to the side waist. Inhale up to the chest. Notice if the breath moves maybe to the sides of your armpits. Exhale, soften the heart and soften the belly. So we'll keep this rhythm, fully filling the lungs with every inhale, emptying the lungs on the exhale. Let's add in an exhale with a ha breath. Exhaling as if you're going to fog a mirror. Inhaling into the nose, down into the belly. Breathing up into the heart, lifting the chest a little bit. Exhaling from the throat, ha breath. Inhaling belly up to the heart. Exhaling, relax the heart to the belly. Now maybe begin to visualize the breath. On every inhale, we're breathing in a cool, blue, calming light. And on the exhale, we're breathing out this bright red, hot energy. Let's try maybe 3 to 5 more like that with the visualization. Inhaling cool blue light down to the belly, up to the heart. Exhaling that red, vaporescent, warm energy. Relaxing the jaw. Last one, big inhale. Let's relax our hands down beside us, either the palms up on top of your knees or maybe to the floor out beside you. Let's just take the chin down to the chest for a moment. And maybe thinking about breathing into the place behind your heart as we're stretching the muscles that are from the neck all the way down between your shoulders, down into the middle back and low back. Breathe in through the nose and move the breath into that space behind your heart. Continuing to exhale as if you're fogging a mirror, inhaling into the nose, breathing into that space behind the heart. The chin is relaxed. Exhaling, ha breath. One more like this. Let's lift our head up to neutral, taking the head to the left and the right. Just gently shaking the head, checking in with the muscles that connect from your jaw to the shoulders and into the shoulder blades. Let's shake the head yes, just a gentle lift and lower of the chin. If you're lying on your back with your knees bent, you can stay right where you are. For those of us who might be seated today, either in a chair or on the floor, let's bend our knees. And we're just gonna let those knees sway left and right, gently swaying the knees, loosening up the energy in your low back and hips. So maybe we start with only investing half of our effort into this movement. So wherever we think we are maybe moving through our fullest range of motion, maybe we just pause and we attempt to move with just half of our effort, letting knees sway gently left and right, listening to the body, noticing the sensations that the body uses to express its own comfort. The sensations are the body's way of expressing agreement or disagreement with movement, and just avoiding pain as much as possible. From here, let's match the breath to the movement. As we inhale through center, we'll exhale and twist over to one side with the knees. And we may even look in the opposite direction of that twist. Inhaling through center, exhale, knees twist to the other side, looking over our shoulder. Just a couple more like this. Inhaling through center, exhale from the throat with that twist. Nice big sigh of relief. Inhale through center, exhale, twist. One more to each side. Inhaling through center, exhale from the throat. Take your time to even this gentle twist out on left and right. For those of you who might be lying on the floor, take your time to roll over onto one side. And then from your side lying position, you can gently use your top arm to slowly come up, and we'll all meet in an easy seated position. For easy seated, we may want to sit with the ankles crossed. You could even extend one leg out if that's more comfortable. Easy seated is a phrase that we use simply to encourage that you are comfortably anchored to the earth. So eliminating as much discomfort as possible in your hips, thighs, and back. I recommend sitting on a blanket or a pillow for those of you that might be working from home today. From wherever you are, let's turn the palms up. And as we inhale, we're pulling the elbows back and circling the arms overhead, reaching towards the sky. Maybe rock a little bit left and right in your hips. And notice that point at which you feel that the energy in the hips is completely balanced. With the hips balanced and anchored as you inhale, reach towards the sky. Big inhale at the top of the breath, and maybe even look up towards the fingertips, stretching some of the muscles in the throat and jaw. On the exhale, we'll turn those palms forward with the elbows bent and pull the elbows back. It's very similar to the movement that our body naturally makes when we yawn in the morning. Let's try that a few more times. Palms up, inhale, sweeping the arms back and around. Big breath in, reaching from the fingertips and looking up. Palms forward. Exhale, bring it back with your elbows. Nice big chest stretch. Let's add in that same breath, inhaling through the nose, down to the belly, up to the heart, big reach. And now exhale with that ha. Making the breath audible. It could even be a sigh. Inhaling, arms overhead, palms forward, elbows circle back. At least one more, encouraging some activation of the energies behind the heart. Inhale, reach, elbows bend, pull back, squeezing the shoulder blades together. From here, let's inhale the arms up and overhead. And as we exhale, we'll turn towards the right, swivel at the waist, taking the hands down beside you into a seated twist. Let's look over the right shoulder in this twist. Breathe mostly into your upper right lung. Holding it there for maybe just one or two more breaths, giving that upper right lung enough time to open and to maybe even gently stretch the ribs as the lung expands. Let's take both hands up and overhead to neutral. Big inhale as we reach dynamically from our fingertips and armpits. Exhale, twisting over to the left, looking over our left shoulder. We might have that right hand just on top of your left thigh. Left hand could be on a blanket or on the floor or on your seat behind you. Breathing mostly into the upper left lung. Exhaling, option to close the eyes so that our bodies have an opportunity to get to know the yoga practice based on what we feel is right for us. Letting go of the thought or the notion that we have to look a certain way in the pose. When you're ready, we're going to speed this up just a little bit. Inhaling the arms overhead, dynamically moving with the breath. Exhale, twist to the other side. Inhaling, breathing to that upper lung. Big breath in, open and reach. Exhale, twist to the other side. Option to close the eyes. Moving from this swivel-like motion in your waist. Inhaling, stretch from the armpits. Reach through the fingertips. Exhale, swivel at the waist and relax the hands. Inhaling, arms up and overhead. Exhale, swiveling at the waist, looking over the left shoulder. Just one more to each side. We're gently warming up the spine, using the expansion of the lungs to stretch the ribs, the shoulders, and even some of the soft tissues in the low back. This is our last one with our breath. Inhaling, bring the arms up and overhead. Let's lace the fingers and invert the palms, pressing straight up towards the sky into our palm gesture. If this is creating any discomfort for your shoulders at all, try bringing the hands down so that they're more maybe in front of your chin or down a little lower. Comfort in the shoulders is key so that we're able to really capture the stretch around the ribs. From wherever you are, pull up from your right shoulder and armpit and just lean a little bit over to the left. We're doing this particular stretch to maybe soften some of the muscles that move from your right hip to your armpit, stretching the connecting tissues that help to stimulate the lymphatic system as well, promoting a healthy immune system in our bodies. Let's look over to the left so that the head is stretching with gravity. Now, maybe think about your breath moving into that space under your right armpit. As we inhale, we're simply energetically shifting the breath to stretch open your ribs, flare out the muscles in the ribs under your right armpit. One more like this, inhaling through the nose, exhale from the jaw. Let's inhale up to center, Lifting from the left armpit, we're just gently stretching over to the right, looking down to the right as well. So the stretch is passive in the neck. We're working with gravity to reduce injury. Inhaling into that space under the left armpit. Breathing in, we pull up and out of that left shoulder. Notice if you start to feel your hips coming off of your mat. Maybe shift down a little bit into that left hip so that we can really isolate the muscles along the left waistline. In yoga, we use this stretch to stimulate metabolism and to encourage healthy digestion and elimination processes. One more big breath, inhaling into that upper left lung, open through the armpit with that side stretch. When you're ready, bring it through center, and let's lower the hands. You can stay seated for our next sequence of cat and cow, or you can come to all fours. To come to all fours, we may want to uncross the ankles, let those knees come over to one side, and then come around onto the hands and the knees. Now, of course, you can stay seated for this, especially if you know that the floor creates an achiness in your knees or in your wrist. Simply stay in any comfortable seated position. From here, you could have your hands pressing down into the floor, or you could even come down to your elbows if that's more comfortable. From wherever you are, let's first lower the head, and on the exhale, round the spine, tucking the tailbone under. Let's hold it here, shaking the head yes, turning the head left and right, coming to a still point. Let's find the inhale, dropping our belly, flipping the hips back, and last of all, looking forward into cow pose. Exhaling, rounding the spine, tailbone tucks, head drops. Inhaling, belly drop, lengthening through the spine. Now that we've matched the inhale and the exhale to these movements, let's keep that rhythm and refine the breath a little bit. Inhaling in through the nose as much as possible. On the exhale, purse the lips as if you're going to whistle or blow out birthday candles. Rounding the spine. Inhaling into the nose, cow pose. Opening the throat, lengthening the spine. Exhale, pursing the lips, blowing bubbles. At least a couple more like this. Inhaling, the hips flip back, exaggerating the curve in the low back. Exhaling, press firmly down into the earth. Last set, inhaling, cow pose, lengthening through the spine. Exhale, blowing bubbles, whistling, blowing birthday candles. From here, let's find all fours position. From all fours, we're just going to let the hips sway a little bit left and right. And if you're seated, you could just rock on the hips left and right so that we encourage some gentle sensations to maybe wake up in the hips or around the sciatic nerve and low back. When you're ready, let's come to any still point. Let your hips sink back. Walk the hands forward for child's pose. If you're seated at a desk, you could always walk your hands out on your desk and maybe even just lay the head down for a moment. Let's relax the head and the neck in child's pose. If this is strenuous on your knees, go ahead and lift the hips a little bit. You could stay on your elbows with the hips lifted. Dropping the head, no matter where we are, let's let the head just roll a little bit left and right. Come to a still point while we're folded forward in our expression of child's pose. Let's find the breath along the back sides of our lungs. Breathing to our low back, to our middle back. Breathing into that space under your armpits and under the shoulder blades. Exhale, softening the whole spine, softening the whole body. When you're ready, let's look forward, walking our hands in just a bit. From our knees, we're coming up to all fours, stepping 1 foot forward. We may want to bring hands up onto the thigh for support so that this transition reduces our risk of injury. We can tuck our back toe and then shift forward, bringing both feet to the top of our yoga mat. Let's walk our hands down to our shins or even farther down towards the floor if that's comfortable. Hang your head nice and loose, shake the head yes and turn it left and right. At some point, we'll keep the head still and then let the hips sway left and right. Let's come to a still point, bringing our hands all the way up to the shins, lengthening the spine. And now bringing the hands up onto the thighs, creating more of a flat back with our hands on our thighs. Let's take our feet out just a little wider than the hips. And we may even want to turn our toes out just a little bit. From here, we're bending the knees, seeing that they move in the same direction as our toes. And we're practicing flipping the hips back, standing cow pose. So we practiced from all fours, working with mobility and warming up the hips and the spine safely on the floor. Now we're coming up into standing. This does create a little more work for the body, a little more pressure into the bones and the joints. Let's inhale, gently pressing the hips back, standing cow position. Maybe we gaze forward softly and lift the chin just enough to feel that you're starting to open the front of the throat. On the exhale, we're pulling the tailbone down, drawing the belly button up, maybe even straighten the legs just a tiny bit and drop the head, standing cat. Let's try this movement with our breath. Bending the knees, inhaling, hips flipping back, heart lengthening forward, standing cow. Exhale, rounding the spine, dropping the chin in towards the chest. Inhaling, standing cow. Exhaling, standing cat, rounding the spine. Let's try just 2 more. Moving with your own breath, allowing every inhale and every exhale to inspire your movement. 1 more set. Inhale, open, and exhale, close. From here, let's slowly find a neutral spine, and we'll walk the hands up, coming into a standing position with our bodies. Standing tall with the hands down beside us. Let's see that the feet are at the width of our pelvis bones. So hip width in yoga can be interpreted a few different ways. We can say hip width, and maybe we take the feet out so that the toes, the big toes, line up with your pelvis bones. Or hip width is the edges of your feet line up with the edges of your hips. And then the pelvis bone lines up with the knee to the ankle, and then it moves out to the 2nd and 3rd toe. Try either and notice what feels right for you. Remember, you can change your mind at any time to create more comfort in your practice. So finding our body's expression of hips width with our feet. Let's stretch out, web out your toes like a duck. Open the palms of the hands, 5-pointed star. Soften the knees. On an inhale, sweep the arms back. Big circle, reaching up overhead, maybe even looking up towards the sky. Exhale, elbows bend, and we pull it back. The same movement we did when we were seated, just a little different now. Inhaling, reaching up. Palms forward, elbows, pull it back. Big stretch along the abdomen, along the abdominal wall and intestines. Big inhale. Exhale, elbows bend, take it back. Maybe close your eyes and notice how the breath is filling the lungs from the lower hip through the ribs to your heart. And then exhale. Let your body give out a sigh with that breath. One more. Let's make that exhale really exaggerated. Big exhale. From here, let's bring our hands into the heart, pressing our thumbs to the chest. We're stepping our left foot back, a very casual stride, taking a bend in that right knee. You might notice that your left toe is turned out just a little bit. This is okay. If you're noticing that you have pressure in your low back, or maybe you know that you've had sciatica pain in the past, I recommend that you look at that left foot, lift the left heel, turn the heel back so that both toes are facing forward. We call this a squared hip position, and it can actually create less tension in your back. From wherever we are with our legs, we see that that right knee is softly bent. On an inhale, we're circling the arms overhead, reaching towards the sky. Let's establish a neutral neck by lowering the chin enough so that an egg could roll off of your head. From here, we can gaze past our cheeks or past the tip of our nose. We may even want to close our eyes. Now, when we close our eyes, it is very common for us to maybe feel that our bodies are swaying, they could be shaking, we might even feel off balance. That is all very common, it's all very natural. As we close our eyes, our bodies begin to rewire specific neurological pathways, neuromuscular pathways, basically making movement in the body a little smarter, a little more efficient, helping us to be a little more physically coordinated, reducing accidents. So I do encourage closing the eyes and giving the body a little bit of time to really repave those brain to body pathways, not relying on eyesight for balance. As we hold our warrior one expression, we continue to press down into the soles of the feet while we reach up dynamically through the fingertips. Big inhale and exhale. Let's turn the palms forward, bringing the elbows in towards your waist, cactus arms. Let's add in a little flow with this. On the inhale, let's straighten our right leg and reach the arms straight up overhead. Imagine that you're holding on to a bowling ball. So while we're here, there's this dynamic energy when we think about the weight of maybe a 10-pound bowling ball over our heads, and we're attempting to press it up towards the sky. Big inhale, reach. Exhale, palms forward, bend the right knee, and bring the elbows down to your waist. Come forward just a tiny bit with the body. We're shifting our center of gravity. On the inhale, we straighten that right leg, reach the arms overhead. Maybe we look up, holding that bowling ball, and then exhale, palms forward, bending the right knee, shifting forward, pulling those elbows in. Let's try 2 or 3 more. So once you've seen it and practiced it with your eyes open at least 2 or 3 times, then try closing the eyes, repaving brain to body, neuromuscular pathways so that we're able to improve balance, shifting our center of gravity, exhaling, coming down, pressing down into the right foot. Anchor that energy to the earth. On the inhale, push into the right foot. Take the energy back down into the left foot. Let's try 1 or 2 more. Exhaling forward. Inhale, rising up. Energy is pressing back into the left foot. Exhaling down, pressing into the right foot. One more set. Inhale to lift. And now exhale forward. From the forward position, let's place both hands down on our right thigh. From here, we're keeping our left hand on that right thigh. And we're reaching with our right hand as if you're going to shake someone's hand in front of you. From wherever you are, circle that right hand behind you. So you're turning the thumb down, almost like you're swimming. You're pressing back with that hand, taking the knuckles to the low back, and then gently looking over the right shoulder, moving into a very gentle twist. This is considered an adaptive expression of a twisting triangle or even a twisting pyramid pose. If you'd like to experiment with maybe some different sensations in the pose, you could always straighten your right leg and maybe feel like that left hip is dropping in towards your right knee. Let's swivel at the waist, drawing the right shoulder back, pressing the left shoulder forward into the twist, looking over the right shoulder if it feels right for you. This is going to require the most effort. This is moving against gravity. So if it's hurting your neck at all, let that neck go in any other position where there's comfort, no pain. Let's breathe mostly into that upper right lung. Big breath. Exhale with ease, maybe with a sigh. Inhale, upper right lung. Exhale, we're wringing out the intestines, wringing out the digestive tract. One more inhale. And now exhale. Let's bring both hands around to our front thigh. And from here, we may want to look straight forward, practicing a little bit of cat and cow here. Hips go back and then round the spine. Inhale, hips go back. Let's keep the hips back with the spine long. And maybe bend that right knee a little more, lifting the left heel. Moving into just a little bit of balance work. We may want to hover that left toe away from the floor. You can even take the hands away from your right thigh and reach them out, palms facing down. Fingers reaching past your hips, option to straighten that back leg into an airplane pose, strengthening the total spine and low back. There is an element of cow pose in here to keep the spine safe. So just remember to keep pulling up through your ribs, maybe even lift the chin just a little bit. Breathe into the center of the chest, at least 2 or 3 more big breaths. Feeling like your heart is functioning like a single lung in your chest. Big inhale. Maybe even bow out your chest like a proud bird. One more. When you're ready, let's lower that back foot and lower our hands. Let's take our time and reposition our feet. We may even want to kick off the legs a little bit or roll off the ankles. Let's find our foundation for that sequence on the other side, beginning with the feet at hips width distance. So for those of you who've maybe had sciatica pain or SI joint pain, lumbar spine pain, I recommend the feet maybe just a little wider. You can even take the toes out just a tiny, tiny bit. From wherever we are with these feet at hips width, let's inhale, taking the arms straight up and overhead. Again, holding on to that bowling ball. We press up towards the sky, stepping our right foot back, a very casual stride, bending the left knee. To protect the low back and hip joints, we might want to look down at that right heel, lift the heel, rotate it back so that your right hip comes forward, both toes forward. Keeping that healthy bend in our left knee. Let's lower the chin enough so an egg could roll off of our head. reaching dynamically. Take a moment and just notice what sensations are in your neck or your shoulders, maybe even in your jaw. If there's a lot of tension or pain, you could always bring those hands to the heart. From wherever we are, we're holding warrior one, closing the eyes. And again, if we notice a little shake, a little sway, a little uncertainty with the body, that is natural. Less visual cortex, less of the parts of the brain that are processing eyesight, more parts of the brain processing neuromuscular function, coordination. One more big inhale, reach. Exhale, elbows into the waist. Let's lean forward just a tiny bit. On the inhale, we straighten our left leg and reach the arms up, taking the weight back into our right foot, palms forward, pull the elbows in, bend the left knee, press down into the left foot. Keeping this rocking motion forward and back with our breath, shifting our center of gravity, moving nice and slow. Because no one ever said, I moved so slow in yoga and so mindful that I hurt myself. No one has ever said that. So to reduce injury, moving slowly, watching the body, feeling for sensations that tell us where to go. Inhale, reaching up, option to close the eyes. Again, the body might get a little wobbly. That's okay, that's what we want. We actually don't want to feel that we have a perfect physical practice. Hopefully the body is learning new things, new patterns of movement. And in that learning curve, we might get a little shaky. We might get off balance. That's okay. One more. Inhale, reach. And exhale, forward. Let's bring our hands down onto our thigh. Just a quick little cat and cow to reposition the hips, letting the hips go back into a standing cow, and then forward to a cat. And now back more like cow again. Both hands on that left thigh. We're lengthening through the spine, opening the chest. Let's keep our right hand on the left thigh, taking our left hand forward like we're going to shake someone's hand. Then turning that thumb in and down, we press back through the palm of that left hand and rest the back of the left hand on your low back. From here, keeping a healthy bend in that left knee. Inhale, lengthening through the spine, looking ahead. On the exhale, we're drawing that left shoulder back for a gentle twist at the waist. To accentuate this twist, we may want to drop that right hip in just a little bit. So we're getting a stretch here that's going to go all the way from your left back hip to your upper right shoulder. It is a big twist. It is a lot of different muscles that are connecting the hips through the spine to the upper shoulder and head. Let's look over that left shoulder against gravity. Maybe we look down at our left foot with gravity. If we're curious about maybe creating some different sensations in the hip, we can straighten the left leg. Maybe we feel a stretch radiating down the side of that left leg. This could be known as an IT band stretch, just a really common stretch to help get those hips a little more mobile. One more inhale, drawing that left shoulder back, moving the right shoulder forward, breathing into the upper left lung. One more, big breath in. When you're ready, slowly bend that front knee. Both hands to the front thigh. We're shifting forward again, flipping the hips back and leading with the heart. At least 2 or 3 breaths here, really breathing into the heart and expanding the chest. Expanding breath, allowing the expansion of the lung around the heart to gently stretch your chest muscles. Big inhale. If you'd like to try a little bit of a balance challenge here, let's bend that left knee a little more. Peel up that back right heel, maybe bend the right knee a little bit, bend the left knee a little bit too. From here, we might want to hover that left toe or right toe off of the floor. Option to take the arms out beside us, reaching back while the crown of the head lengthens forward. You can straighten that back leg if it's comfortable and keep that leg hovering over the floor, airplane expression. Maybe 2 or 3 more breaths here. Big inhale. We are actively weight bearing on that left leg. So for anyone here who is thinking about improving your bone density, this is working with that, improving bone density. Just a lot of energy in that left leg. One more inhale. When you're ready, lower both feet. With both feet on the floor, let's kick out the legs, maybe even roll the ankles a little bit. From here, we are going to come down onto the floor again or come down into a chair. If you'd like, go ahead and grab a bit of water at this point. If you're looking for creative ways to go from standing to seated on the floor, I do want to demonstrate a pattern of movement that you're welcome to try. It's used to reduce injury when you get up and down off the floor so that you're able to maintain activities for daily living. These are essential activities that basically keep us living independently. So from standing, we press our hips back, taking the hands to the thighs and maybe walking them down to the shins. We're pushing our hips back. We may want to take both hands onto one leg for support, avoiding any pressure on the kneecap. Then we take one leg back, lowering down towards the floor, supporting our weight on that front leg. Then we can bring our hands down, coming to the hands and the knees. We'll sweep the feet one direction and sit the hips down on the floor. From any seated position, go ahead and stretch the legs out in front of you. If you're seated in a chair, scoot to the edge of your chair so that you're able to get those legs out onto the floor as much as possible. If you have a blanket or a pillow, I recommend that you have a seat on some sort of a perch. If you're on the floor, sitting on the edge of that perch can encourage a little more of a neutral back. And it's that low back that can oftentimes get really achy during long periods of sitting. It loses its neutral curve. So sitting on the edge, we're flipping the hips back, keeping a softness in our knees, stretching through your toes, web out the toes, the feet are flat. Inhaling, let's reach both arms up and overhead. Big breath in, seated stack, reaching up through the fingertips dynamically. On the exhale, let's sweep the hands down. So the fingertips might be pressing out from the hip joint and just very lightly touching the floor with our fingertips. Keeping the knees soft, keeping our feet flat, the toes are pulling towards your belly. Inhale and lift the heart up as if you're trying to lift the heart up and move it over your knees and toes. We may want to open the throat a little bit while we're here. You could even bend the knees a little more if you're sensing any strain in the low back. Bending those knees, noticing if you might be able to create a little more comfort. One more big inhale. Exhale, let the belly come forward just a bit more. And notice at some point, the upper back is going to create a natural curve. It's going to round naturally without exaggeration. And at that point, we relax our chin, our head, and our neck. We may want to take our hands onto our legs. We could even walk our hands towards our feet, maybe touch the feet if they feel comfortably available to you, then touching the toes. Letting go of any goals in yoga. There is no goal to touch the toes here. Some of us may never touch our toes. It just has to do with bone alignment, with connecting tissues. You could have shorter ligaments even. From wherever you are, let that head relax. And again, let's think about breathing using the back of the lungs. Breathing down into the low back, up to the middle back, and then letting the breath move under your shoulder blades and out to your armpits. Exhale, soften the heart, soften the middle back, and soften your low back. So let's stay here for about a full minute, focusing on this 3-part breath in the back of your lungs, breathing from the hips along the sides of the spine up to your shoulder blades. And maybe exhale like you're going to whistle. At least 2 or 3 more like this. This is a specific pose that we use in yoga therapy to balance the energies that can be affecting adrenal fatigue. So just simply breathing along the sides of your spine and allowing the lungs as they fill to massage the kidneys and massage your adrenal glands in the low back. At least 1 more breath, breathing into the low back, through the middle back, to the shoulder blades. And now exhale with a whistle. When you're ready, we're going to keep the head down, walking the hands into the thighs. We're keeping that head low as we walk our body up into a tall seated position. Last of all, we lift the head and the neck. Let's turn the head left and right, taking some time to check in with the mobility of some of the tiniest bones in the spine. From wherever you are, keep that left leg extended and bend just your right knee. If you're on the floor, you may want to cross that leg over. If you're seated in a chair, you're also welcome to cross the right leg over the left in a seated position. Let's begin by taking our left arm up. And I like to circle my arm back and rotate the palm up and in. This helps me to work with mobility in the shoulders. So for any of you that have maybe had frozen shoulder issues, you might want to actively just sweep that arm back, circle that arm, and reach up. Now, sometimes we think we have frozen shoulder or we think we have a bad shoulder, but what it might actually be is tight biceps from sitting at a desk and typing. So if you want to do a little test to discover, is it your shoulders? Is it your biceps? You can do a little test. To do this test, touch your fingertips to your shoulders. Take your left elbow back, sweep it back and around, moving the elbow towards the sky, keeping the fingertips by your shoulder. And then maybe we extend the arm straight up. If the shoulder hurts when we straighten our arm, chances are it's tight biceps and it's not bad shoulders. From wherever you are, maybe look up at that extended left arm, push the left hip down, breathe into the upper left lung. Big inhale. And now exhale, twist towards the right. Let's take our left hand, maybe on top of that right knee or across your chin. Bringing the right arm up, you're sweeping it around, and you could even lean back into that right hand for the seated twist. staying here for maybe just 2 or 3 breaths, just enough time for the spine to get just a little more malleable, a little more flexible. When you're ready, slowly come forward, push off that backhand, and let's switch out our legs. Crossing the left leg over the right. We may want to circle that right arm back a few times. We may want to circle it with the elbow a few times to test out our mobility in the arm. Circling back, then reaching up. Eventually holding that right arm up, big breath. On the exhale, twist it to the left. The hand could be on your shin, on your knee. Let's take our left hand behind us and maybe even lean back into that left hand just a little bit. Looking over the left shoulder, encouraging just a little more mobility, a little more of an energy that creates an upward spiral from the earth through the spine, through the crown of the head, sitting tall. Inhale into the upper left lung. Just one more. When you're ready, slowly come around, bring it to center. Let's stretch out the legs and shake off your knees. To close our class from the physical practice, we're moving into meditation for about 5 minutes. So for this portion, if you want to lie down, bend the knees first, and then let those knees sway over to one side. With the knees to one side, we can walk our hands down to the floor and then roll onto our backs. Maybe using a pillow or a blanket under our head for support. If you're seated in a chair, just get comfortable wherever you are. Let's place the hands on our stomach. We could always straighten the legs. Let's use a technique used to help to increase your lung strength or lung capacity, a counting breath. As soon as you begin to inhale, count to yourself 1, 2, 3, pause, then exhale 3, 2, 1. Let's try that silently for maybe another minute or so, recruiting an inner coach to encourage a big inhale. The bigger the breath, the slower you'll want to count. Inhaling 1, 2, 3. Maybe pause and feel your body full with the breath. Notice what that fullness feels like. Then exhaling 3, 2, 1. Let's try that just a few more times. Now, if you're able to stay here a little longer and maybe work with the breath just a little longer, I recommend that you do stay. Again, as long as we're breathing, we're doing yoga. For those of you who maybe need to stick to a schedule today, we have been practicing about an hour, so you may want to move your fingers and your toes and take your sweet time to eventually roll to one side and make your way to seated. In closing, wherever you are, we can bring our hands together at the heart. This is a traditional closing gesture known as the seal of physical reverence, to think about revering your physical form. Let's draw in a deep, unifying breath together wherever you are. Big inhale, and then let it go from your throat. Maybe even let that be an audible breath. Let's try one more. Let it go with a sigh. From here, we can close together with a bow. Namaste, everyone. Go enjoy your beautiful day, and I will see you next time.